After 60, helping your children can quietly destroy the life you've built. And the worst part is, you think you're doing the right thing, but there is a point where it starts to do the opposite. And most people don't see it until it's too late, and by then you don't get it back. What this video is about is that you reach a point in your life when, if you're still doing the things that you did with your children back in the day before they were adults, it will have a serious harm on your life for the next 10, 20 or possibly 30 years. I'm going to share with you 6 things that you should stop doing right now for your children. Number 1, unlimited financial support. This is a big one, and it rarely starts big. It starts with a request for help, a small loan, a bill, a small purchase, maybe making up a bit of a shortfall on the cash front. Does that sound familiar? You think, well, they just need a bit of support. So what's the harm? I can help. And yeah, that's true, if it's only once. But what if it happens again and again and again? Well, now there is a pattern. You become the safety net. And that's not an occasional thing either. It becomes permanent. They don't have to solve the problem because they know that you will. And that's where it shifts. It's no longer support. It's something entirely different. It's now independence. And it's possibly even exploitation. And here's the part that most people miss. It doesn't just cost you money. It costs them too. It costs them the growth of their character. Because struggle in early adulthood, well, that's where all the hard lessons are learned. The things that you're going to draw upon, the experiments that you make that are going to help you through the rest of your life. So if you take that away from them, you're not helping them at all. You're actually hindering them. And now you've got 2 problems. They're not independent anymore. They're dependent on you. And 2, you're completely drained. Number 2, guilt-driven attention. This one is a bit quieter. You expect the calls. You expect the visits. You expect them to put time aside from their busy lives for you. Now, you might not say it directly to them, but let me tell you this, they feel it. You think, well, I just want to hear from them. I love them. They're my kids. I like to have a chat with them. Well, of course you do. That's only natural. But what they hear is something else. They hear, I'm not doing enough. And over time, that can build up and end up as resentment and obligation. It's no longer what it's supposed to be, which is closeness. And then they start to do something really subtle. They put their telephone on divert to voicemail. Now, I have to admit, I'm guilty of this one even now at 65 years of age. I've got my elderly relatives on divert to voicemail. I know, that's horrible of me, isn't it? But I do check the voicemail to see if it's important, and it never is. Well, until it is. I don't do it because I don't care, because I'm selfish, and neither do they. I do it because contact from them feels like an obligation. And let me tell you from personal experience, once it feels like that, the relationship changes. It goes from natural to managed. And here's the crux of it. You don't get from them what it was you always really wanted. You don't get the real version of them anymore. Just an act. Number 3, unsolicited advice. You've lived a lot of your life. You've learned a lot of hard lessons. You've got decades of experience. And the obvious people to share it with, well, it's your kids. Of course it is. You don't want them to make the same mistakes that you've made. Of course you don't. You're just trying to help them, right? So there's a temptation to guide them, to pass it on, to let them learn from that fountain of knowledge that you've built up in your head. And you think, well, that's going to help them avoid mistakes. But that's not how it lands with them. it lands with them very differently. This is how it lands with them. Criticism. Not just that, they also feel indifference, control, and over time they stop listening, or even worse, they stop sharing with you. Because every time they do share with you, all they get back from you is a lesson, some more of your worldly wise experience. And after a while, well, frankly, that just gets a bit boring. Before we go on, I just want to mention that a few people are supporting this channel as members. There's a join button below if you'd be interested in doing that too. If not, no problem, there is no pressure. Just keep watching the videos. I appreciate the support. Number 4, constant availability. Being there all the time, making yourself available for errands, for childcare, for solutions to their problems. Again, you think, I'm just helping. And at first, when they reach out, and this happens, well, yeah, of course you are. That's being a good parent, right? But then it becomes expected. You're the first person that they call. And very quickly, the dynamic starts to change a little bit. Your life starts to revolve around theirs. Their life becomes first, and yours becomes second. Your plans get pushed to the background. Your time, even though it's incredibly precious at this point in your life, well, that gets ignored. It just gets used. And here's what happens. It drains your energy. And finally, you wake up and you realize this. You are living your life on someone else's terms, not your own. And the people whose terms you're living it on are your children. Number 5, your sacrifice. This one feels right, of course it does. One of the sort of key things about being a parent is to make sacrifices for your children. Well, that's all well and good when they're still children. It doesn't bode well if they're adults. After 60, it comes at a cost. And that cost is time. And if there's one thing by now you should have figured out at 60, is that time is the most precious resource that you have. Whether you're prepared to admit it or not, you are now in the final chapters, the last section of your book of life. And any years that you give away now, well, you're definitely not going to get them back, because time is not infinite. It's a finite resource, and it cannot be replenished under any circumstances. Now, they won't even see it, because to them, they're only young, and time just seems like it's going to last forever, especially if they're in their 20s or their 30s. But it's not. For you, it's real. And if you let them, it'll just become expected. And that's how it slips. Number 6, control through inheritance. This one is quiet and powerful. You think by telling them what they were going to inherit one day that you're helping them. It'll guide them, help them make plans. Well, that's one way of looking at it. But what it will do is it'll help them make plans on how they're going to spend your money. It becomes a distortion, an expectation, and sometimes it becomes entitlement. They start thinking about the future in a way that they shouldn't. And here's the reality, the actual truth. You don't really know how much money is going to be left after you're gone. Especially now, these days. I mean, here in the UK, the price of care fees, and you don't know whether or not you're going to end up in care. You might. And it might be that everything that you've worked for over the last 40, 50, 60 years might just get swallowed up because you end up in a care home for quite a few years. I've seen that happen to quite a few friends of mine who thought they were going to get quite a good chunky inheritance, and then they didn't, because their parents in their 90s ended up in care and dwindling on for many years until all the assets had gone. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but it might. So it's a mistake to give your kids any expectation that they're going to inherit anything. It's better to impress upon them that if there is an inheritance, it's a bonus and not something that they should be making plans for or even expecting. So those are my 6 things that you should never give your children. But let me be clear about this. This isn't about not caring about them, because of course you care for your children. I've got a 27-year-old son and I love him and I care for him and I want him to do well in the world. This is about knowing when to step back in life and let your kids find their own way without you interfering, so that what they end up building is the same thing that you built: decent character. You're not dealing with little kids anymore. Even though they're your children, they are now adults. And you may not think it right now, but even young adults need space, and they need time, and they need to make their own mistakes. What they don't need is you making yourself available and removing every single obstacle in their way, always being there as the solution to their problems. Because I can guarantee you this: if that's what you do, there's going to be a price to pay. They're going to pay the price in their character, and you're going to pay the price in your relationship with them in the future. So let me ask you a question. Please reply to this one in the comments. Where in your life are you still giving? And when should you be stepping back? I know that's 2 questions, but feel free to answer them both. If this video resonated with you, watch this one next. It's the things you should never tell your family because it'll cost you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.